for the most part, seafood should not smell fishy.
Yeah.
If it is, be like, well, you guys can take this back. I'm good.
See, I was right. Fishy
Yes,
is a thing.
That's right. You have something to go back
I
to.
have something to back me up now. That's great. Throw everything in a pot and call it soup. Like I said, I do that too, actually. And actually, the funny part is, whenever I do something like that, and I just grab some stuff and throw it together, it comes out the best rather than following like a recipe.
Yeah, you Iron Chef it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of take whatever is there and mix it around. Every single person I talk to, like, what, you're a chef? You do appliances? Can you show me how to do it? And it's just
the best
like,
of the best, right? You
yeah.
can't get any better than that. Having a chef teach you how to use the appliance, that's great.
Because everybody cooks differently. So everybody's going to use a steam oven differently.
Mm-hmm. And especially to get people to like it too and love it and then want to like hire you and bring you on to actually cook for them.
Almost like building a house where you're building every single layer, designing every single layer, because if your presentation is terrible, the food's not really gonna, the dining experience isn't gonna be great. So it's not only the food, but it's the service part too. Because if you have good food and bad service, kind of ruins the experience too.
And that's true as far as the restaurants go. Like you have to replicate it every time, and I'm sure that's not easy to do. Because there's many times in my own house I couldn't replicate something another time and have to do it over and over. Hello everyone, and welcome to Design Discussions with Nadine. My name is Nadine, and today's guest is Chef Robbie Rensel. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It's somewhat design, but I mean, I don't know, not really design. It's
food
appliances
design,
and
food events. Yeah, there's design in food.
Food is an art too,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Absolutely. So I met Robbie at an event at Azzurri Casa, and we've seen each other a few times around, and I'm so glad that you came to talk to me today.
Yeah, we do a lot of the appliance events in Houston, work for a lot of manufacturers, designers, builders, architects, so we get around for sure. So
how many events do you do every year? Like, let's say last year in 2023, how many events do you think you did as far as showrooms and things like that?
So appliances are really our niche, and the reason why is because I've been working it for 12 years, so I can really demonstrate the product and explain the product in a really interesting way that's very applicable to the individual customers. Mm-hmm. So if they're buying a $50,000 package, I can show them how they can use that $50,000 package to really make their lives better. And that's what makes us special, other than, just a chef feeding you.
Mm-hmm.
We give you a demo and education, and we're able to produce a fine dining dinner. And it really depends, because a lot of the events are booked around a little bit seasonality, but these corporations and manufacturers it's all about their marketing plan too for the whole year, and when the opportunity comes up. So they may have a big builder that's interested in using their product, and they host an event. So it's not like private clients where it's based around a special occasion, or we do Iron Chef corporate team building. So, it's a start of the year thing, or like a quarterly thing where they all get their team together. Mm-hmm. But in general, we do private events as well as appliance events as well. I mean, we probably 10 a month, 12 a month sometimes. Yeah. I think in May we had like 18 or something. We had 9 events back to back to back to back to back, and one somewhere out of town. So it just really depends. And sometimes we don't have an event for a week and a half, 2 weeks. Yeah. So we're doing other things.
So how long have you been a chef, and what got you into it? Now, usually, like my 12-year-old loves to cook.
Yeah.
And he watches YouTube videos, he teaches himself. At this point, it's still very basic stuff, right?
Yep.
So I think maybe there's a thing to it, like you liked it since you were a kid. So
there's no YouTube back where, when I grew up, but I always kind of liked tinkering with food, and, I just mix all kinds of different things in a pot and call it soup, and
throw everything in a pot and call it soup. Like I said, I do that too, actually. And actually, the funny part is, whenever I do something like that, and I just grab some stuff and throw it together, it comes out the best rather than following like a recipe.
Yeah, you Iron Chef it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of take whatever is there and mix it around. So Yeah, my family was really cool about it. They're like, oh man, this is so good, you know. But really what got me into it is I needed a job because my family gave me a car. So that's kind of the deal. And so my brothers worked at this 5 Diamond resort. It was a Marriott Renaissance golf resort, one of the only ones in Michigan, and they worked in events. And there was a kitchen. And since I needed a job, I just talked to the chef and I said, hey, you have anything? He said, no, but you can do anything that no one else wants to do, and I'll pay you, $6.50 an hour. I was like, okay, cool. Well, I need a job, so that's going to work. And I started off dishwashing and sweeping the floors, and I eventually moved up very quickly. And food just kind of makes sense. Everybody's got their thing that makes sense, and food is that thing for me.
Yeah, and it's definitely an art. I mean, I'm not a chef by no means, but I'm very impressed by people that can do what you do, because it's, especially to get people to like it too and love it, and then want to hire you and bring you on to actually cook for them.
Yeah,
so
it takes amazing. A lot of work because people don't realize how much goes into it. And even a restaurant, because you have to replicate the same dish every single time perfectly. They all have to look the same. They all have to taste the same. So it's not only taste, it's presentation. You got to think about how to make it. It's very, very intricate, almost like building a house where you're building every single layer, designing every single layer, because if your presentation is terrible, the food's not really gonna, the dining experience isn't gonna be great. So it's not only the food, but it's the service part too. Because if you have good food and bad service, kind of ruins the experience too.
Yeah, and that's true as far as the restaurants go. You have to replicate it every time, and I'm sure that's not easy to do. Because there's many times in my own house I couldn't replicate something another time and have to do it over and over. That's pretty good.
It's a unique profession.
That takes a talent for sure.
And you can't learn it in a book. You have to work with other people and get experience. And I've been in fine dining and luxury cooking my whole career, so that's kind of what I do. Everyone always asks Mandy if you must eat so good at home, but the hardest thing is for me to simplify things. So it's macaroni and cheese, let's put lobster in it and some bacon and 5 cheeses, and she's like, I'll make it. I'll make the craft. We're just gonna eat within 20 minutes instead of 2 hours.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious what people's or the public's view on a private or personal chef is. I think people's expectations of it is something, something that they see on TV or in a movie. So from your point of view, how do you feel like people view your career as a chef?
So there's a few different kinds. There's a personal chef who does food delivery for multiple clients. There's a private chef that works directly with one, usually very wealthy client, travels around with them. Usually a lot of dietary restrictions around it. And then there's a private event chef. So I'm a private event chef. So I don't work for anyone in particular. I'm my own entity, and then we do events instead of just work with one client. But being a chef is very romanticized nowadays. Yeah. Same thing with being an entrepreneur, and then an entrepreneur chef. You're like, must be so cool. It's very hard work. So you gotta get the equipment ready, you got to make the menu, you got to deal with the client and plan the event, do the food, clean up, manage. So it's just a lot of work that people just see the final pictures and the final, event. And these chefs on TV, the YouTube chefs and the TikTok chefs, when they just kind of do something random and crazy, but actual chefs that are doing events in a luxury fine dining setting, and being an entrepreneur, it's extremely hard work, but it's very rewarding at the same time. So,
speaking of random and crazy, have you ever done your job in somewhere interesting? Like when I say interesting, maybe on an airplane or a boat or something like that. Do you have any stories of maybe you had some very interesting place where you had to cook for someone?
There's yacht chefs, and there's all kinds of different places you can cook. Ours has been the showrooms. Mainly. And so there, if you think about crazy places to cook, we've cooked in showrooms that have nothing live, no sink, no, empty room with appliances all around it. And we're demoing appliances by imitating the food on little gas burners and sous vide. things like that. Or we'll set up in a boardroom, break room, and do C-level luxury dining just with toaster ovens and a blender and sous vide. So it's like, that's pretty crazy because we build a little kitchen and execute fine dining food like with nothing. So that's crazy. Not necessarily location, but logistical.
But, and then that takes some talent too, I would assume, to be able to pull that all together, a fine dining experience. It's not like you were just making, grilled cheese or something.
Right. Or they'll say, oh, we got all these appliances live, and we'll show up and there's like an oven. And I'm like, well, okay, let's redo the whole menu to, get it all done in this oven. So
that's quite funny. Now let's talk about the demo program that you were telling me about earlier, and talk a little bit about that. What is that, and what is involved with that, just so everybody can kind of get an idea of what you guys are starting to do there.
Yeah. So, probably the biggest thing that I've been asked, really for 10 years is, how do we get the customer to understand the appliances that they just bought? So there's a lot of customers that get these really fancy appliances, looks good in the showroom. Hey, the steam oven is something that you love, you want to get, you want the griddle, all this different stuff, and they really get sold, not intentionally hard sold, but they just get excited about it. And then they get it home and they're like, I have no idea how to use this. And the builder's not an appliance expert. The designer's not an appliance expert. The sales guy, definitely knows his stuff, but maybe not in a dining execution food type way. So the customer's just left to figure it out. And what that means is, I talk to so many customers and they don't even use their convection, in this $8,000 oven. They're just like, hey, I don't know how to use it. I'm scared of it. So I've been asked by dealers and manufacturers to do chef demos at clients' homes. And in the past, it really wasn't scalable for multiple different reasons. But now I create a program specifically for designers called Luxe Designer Amenities. Kind of gives the designer a toolbox for their business. And one of them is a chef demo at their home and at their client's home. So they fully understand how to use the appliances, maintain the appliances, clean them. If anything goes wrong, kind of give them some basic, troubleshooting tips as well. And what we ask in return is, now we sell for new homes, we outfit kitchens and dining rooms in total. So we not only do events, but we sell everything that needs to be had to produce an event. So that could be pots, pans, knives, cutting boards, fine china, wine glasses, and everything in between. So kind of our role in it, because nothing comes for free, is that these new homeowners, they don't take a lot of stuff with them. So it's a need that they have anyways, and it's a benefit for the designer because they get the chef demo out of it. And we're going to be expanding it to builders too, because sometimes the builder doesn't have a designer and they need kind of some of the same resources. So because I've diversified the business, we can do things like that to show these clients and really offer this value. We not only go to homes, but we have a podcast coming out called Home Appliances Explained. And it's not just a podcast, but it's content on the website that's neutral, that people can get like solid appliance information, because there's really not a lot out there.
That's really good. Because with all of the high-end, high-tech appliances that are out there right now, a lot of times people might think, oh, you just put your food on it, turn it on, and that's it.
Right.
But I know that's not the case.
Yeah.
Especially with the induction popularity, there's certain things with that are different from gas. So it's really good that you can go and teach people how to use their new appliances properly.
And I have a CEU coming out. It's getting approved right now. It's called What's Induction and Why It's Important. So induction is a huge, great technology that everybody should know about that no one does. And so we're going to do the CEU. We do private classes for clients that are looking at induction because they can't have gas, or they're just looking for something more modern and energy efficient.
Yeah, because I think people don't know really that induction is electric, yes, but it's not the same as your general,
Right.
other electric appliance that you would have. People are, if they're not educated, they just think it's, pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, the halogen that gets like orange that their grandma had, that
Yeah.
gets super, super hot. They're like, man, I don't really want that. Yeah. But it's completely different because your pan becomes a heating element instead of having a heating element that heats your pan. So, but it's super counterintuitive, so people don't fully understand.
Well, that's really good.
Yeah.
And that rolls us right into the FAQs that we can talk about the appliances that you hear often.
Yeah.
So let's give a few of those examples and some of the questions that people ask you.
Yeah, I think the biggest one is convection. So it's been around for so long. But I think there's a lot of information out there that's confusing. One of those things that's very confusing to people is like, hey, if you use convection, you got to drop your temperature by 15 to 20 degrees. And the reason why that's come out is because there's a lot of ovens that do it automatically. So they think it's just like a end all be all rule. And how I explain it to them is I actually explain convection and how it works. So normal bake heats from the bottom to the top very gently. So your big roast, your cakes, it heats it thoroughly, very gently, but very slowly. Convection uses fans to blow hot air all around the product. So you're getting kind of this forced air everywhere. So things like cookies, roasting vegetables, roasting meat, they're gonna get everything done quicker, more brown, more tastier. But if you're cooking this huge loaf of bread or a big cake or a turkey, I say over an hour, you need to use bake or turn down your convection by 25 degrees. Because if you think about convection cooking all around the product, it's gonna cook the outside and burn it before the inside gets cooked. But anything under an hour, convection all day long. And then I always start at 400 convection because that's kind of like your baseline. And so many people are used to 325, 350, and like
350 is my go-to.
Yeah, it just totally doesn't do the trick. 100% doesn't do the trick.
Yeah.
So 400, and then people are just really scared of cooking, fast, and it's like, I don't want to burn stuff. One of the biggest things with burning stuff is a lack of oil coating on their food because it's not getting the contact with the heat properly, and then not having good pans. So a thin pan, you don't have any buffer between the heat and the food, so it burns things really easily. And then go for a saute pan or a sheet tray or whatever it may be.
Well, I learned something today about convection. I mean, honestly, I wasn't that up to speed on that either. So thank you for that. That was good information, and appreciate that. Another question about your chefing.
Yeah.
What is your favorite dish to cook, or do you have one?
I do. I have a really good answer for this. I didn't have a good answer for this for a few years, and I do now. So we do these private, in-home, very nice dinners, and so there's two things that I cook that really, it's very difficult to get in a restaurant cooked properly. And two of those things is duck and scallops. So scallops has an issue because they overcook so fast. So they should be served medium rare, where they're kind of super creamy on the inside. But if you've ever had a scallop that's like bouncy and very kind of hard, it's because it's very overcooked. And you have to, in the kitchen, cook it, put it in a hot window, then the server's got to take it out and then take it to the table, and then you're eating it. So there's a lot of transition time, but when we do our events, we're cooking it right last, and you're getting it in 3 minutes, plate and then to the table. So you can get this like perfect, beautiful scallop that people are like, wow, this is how a scallop is, supposed to taste.
Yeah, because I don't think many people realize what they're supposed to taste like. Because I've heard that before, and I've had them where they were like, it was like a rubber ball.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
and it's a luxury ingredient that is really, really tasty. But if you overcook it too, it gets fishy. If you overcook any seafood, it gets really fishy. People are like, oh, I don't like scallops because they're fishy and they're hard. It's like, well, it's just overcooked.
That's so funny that you say it gets fishy, because my husband used to make fun of me when I would say, I don't like a fishy fish. He's like, but it's a fish. I'm like, no, you don't understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And he used to laugh at me. I'm like, no, I don't like a fish that's like fishy.
Yeah.
So see, now he can see that, and he's going to understand the fishy is a thing.
Yep. And if it's not fresh, then it'll be fishy. So a fish should never smell when you get it fresh. It should never smell fishy. If it does, it's not fresh.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Salmon, salmon can be like a little bit of a exception, but for the most part, seafood should not smell fishy.
Yeah.
If it is, be like, well, you guys can take this back. I'm good.
See, I was right. Fishy
Yes,
is a thing.
That's right. You have something to go back to.
I have something to back me up now. That's great. Now, I want to talk about your business card here. I have it because this was a very impressive business card. I know this is a very random. This is a very random thing. But I said, you know what? I have to ask you about this on the podcast today because I'm like, I've never seen something like this before. You can't hear that, but it's pretty. This stands out. This will definitely make people remember you. So was that the idea behind this? What was the idea behind such a heavy-duty business card?
Yeah, we do all these luxury events. We price accordingly, and when you're in the luxury business, regardless of what business you're in, you have to look luxury from start to finish. How you present yourself, to how your branding is, your website. And if you think about it, your business card is the first impression that someone can give. And so I was doing all this research on metal cards, and I couldn't find anything that I really liked. So I actually really am the only company that can get this type of metal. It's a 1 millimeter thick pure brass with a black overlay. And so I bought my own laser, and I laser them and design them myself. Wow. And then I import the metal. So I have to import the metal specifically. And it's kind of twofold in a sense that people are like, whoa, this is like serious. Like you must be, can I really keep this? And, so that the first impression is one of those things. And then people don't usually throw them away.
I have it right here.
Yeah,
it's in my office, and I'm like, wow, that's really interesting and impressive.
Yeah, and then I sell them too, so it's like a twofold. I always plug that when people are like, oh, I really like this. Be like, well, I sell them if you want some, and so I customize them, and so that's kind of the story of the business card. That's is really cool. No one has them, so it's that impression, It
is, because to be honest with you, I tried to find these after I saw this.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
you can't.
They don't exist.
They don't exist.
That's good to know. See, I wasn't wrong. I'm like, am I just looking in the wrong place?
No. They literally do not exist. I had to custom source them. I had to custom fabricate them and everything like that.
Wow.
And they come in really cool colors. So we have this new concept, the Luxury Appliance Rewards, and it's like a pink gray color theme, and we're actually going to have pink and gold cards that are exact pink on the logo. So we can like custom color and stuff like that too, which is pretty neat.
That's cool.
One guy had his black Amex out, like the unlimited black, and he's like, wow, this is heavier than my Amex. It's like, well, yeah.
Sure. So back to appliances. I know I got off on a tangent there about your business card, but I had to ask about that.
That's a good plug, though.
Yeah,
that's
it was
a good plug.
Yeah, so anybody interested, he can make you, a very memorable business card.
Yeah, it's like 2 ounces.
Yeah, like I said, I will try to. It's heavy duty. What would you say is your favorite appliance? Do you have one? Do you have like a favorite? I don't know if you can even say brand. Would you prefer gas or induction? As a chef. Yeah,
so I use gas and induction separately. So induction is great for very, very quick cooking. So if I'm like boiling water, I'm going to put it on the induction, and it'll boil twice as fast as the gas will. Part of that is because you get full contact and 95% efficiency with the pot, and gas you get overspray depending on the size of your pot. The other thing is, so that's kind of like the difference between induction. I like the flat surface too. It's super easy to clean. If I had to pick like maybe 2 appliances that I thought were really super cool that not a lot of people know about, it would probably be the hearth oven that Monogram makes, because it's a really unique appliance that really no one else does. A lot of people call it a pizza oven, but it's really something you can roast meat. It's the best vegetable roasting oven there is. And basically what it has 32 broiler elements on the top in a curved shape. and then it has a heating element underneath a stone. And so you get intense heat all around, and it's a natural convection. And it's very customizable. So that's kind of one thing. It's not even about the brand, although Monogram is a fantastic brand. It's just about the appliance and the structure of it. So a lot of people say, hey, you got to pick one appliance that is really just kind of going to be that thing where you can mess around with and improve your cooking in a different way. The hearth oven would probably be that appliance. Yeah.
Okay. Now, another random question. I don't know if this is random because you're a chef, but I wanted to ask you about now Michelin star restaurants. I've been to a couple. Experience was great, but I feel like, and I've read that they've lost popularity lately. Do you have any opinions on that? I feel like it was a thing, more 5-10 years ago or more, but I feel like it's not as special to people anymore.
Yeah, I think it very much revolves around a lot of these luxury chefs. These Michelin star restaurants are put under so much pressure to keep their stars, and that's basically their reputation and these awards. And as Michelin star restaurants have gone out of business and chefs have given back their stars, I think part of it is it's not as stringent, so the quality hasn't been upheld. Not to say the Michelin star restaurant quality versus normal restaurant is far above, but really what's happening with these luxury chefs is they spent their whole life perfecting this craft, working 80, 90, 100 hours. They have all these awards, and there's these chefs, they go back and they look at their lives, they're like, what's the point? There's this Wiley Dufresne, one of the best chefs in the entire world. He said in an article, he shut his restaurant down. He said, I've never been so lonely in my entire life, even though I'm surrounded by people that love me and I have all these awards and everything like that. He's like, really, those are just people that it's like a celebrity, they don't really care, they just care about what you do. So the dedication that it takes to get to that level and stay at that level is very difficult, and they're not profitable because you have to bring in such specialty ingredients, and a lot of the dishes are so time intensive just for one preparation that it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's an hours long experience. I mean, the experience was great. The last one I was in Rome.
Yep.
And it was an amazing experience. By no means, not cheap, but it's an experience you're paying for, right?
Right.
But yeah, the interesting part is how intricate it is.
Well, and they got to replicate that hundreds of times a night, and then they got to remake the whole thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
And do that over and over and over again.
So I can see that's even more intense stress.
Right. Yeah. And everything has to be perfectly placed. It has to be, in that type of kitchen, the pressure is so immense. And I've been in fine dining kitchens like that. I mean, it's break you stress.
Wow. So now back to the podcast note. What made you want to start the podcast? And you said you haven't started it yet.
Yeah, it'll come out in the next few weeks.
Okay.
And so I'm going to bring in some well-known architects and designers and salespeople, dealer, principals and stuff like that. And really what it's about is just answering questions that people have. It's very just educational, and if you're looking for appliances, it's a resource for people who are looking at appliances. So builders can say, if you want to know just general things about appliances, whether we talk about brands or type of appliances or steam ovens or induction, or what questions you get as a builder, what questions you get as a designer, and just continually go over that so consumers have the education they need. That's really why that I want to start it, is because I do get the same questions over and over, and I wanted to bring it to a wider audience, just even as a resource for everybody, because everybody's struggling in the same thing, is no one knows how to work these appliances. And the appliance manufacturers, there's so much competition that they're just making more and more advanced appliances, and there's no education for it. So it's like every single person I talk to, like, what, you're a chef, you do appliances? Can you show me how to do it? And it's just
the best
like,
of the best, right? You can't get any better than that. Having a chef teach you how to use the appliance, that's great.
Because everybody cooks differently. So everybody's going to use a steam oven differently. Everybody's going to use, a griddle differently. So not one size fits all. That's where it's really important to have these diverse opinions, either on the podcast or our content, to really cover everything. Because if you can't teach someone, if you buy this $15,000 range or $18,000 range, and you can increase your entertaining or use it to better your life, they're not really going to buy it. Or they're going to buy it and be like, what did I just buy? Yeah. So and there's not a lot of chefs that can explain, cook, and do the whole thing. Usually you're a demo chef or you're a cooking chef.
Yeah.
And so since I've been in multiple roles, from a rep to a chef to whatever it may be in the appliance industry, I have this unique ability to do that. And there's like one podcast and that's it. So there's no appliance-based podcasts, resources. The only thing is appliance manufacturer websites.
And you would think that, the manufacturers would put in more effort to teach people how to use their appliances, right? I mean, you would think.
So the appliance industry, it's advanced but very old from an infrastructure standpoint. And so there's a few things that we're doing, like our luxury appliance support, that helps with luxury customers too. But there's so many different kinds of customers. There's your luxury customer, your $1 million homes. And then there's your mid, which is the 500 to 8. And then there's your starter homes. And a manufacturer is dealing with all three, but they take vastly different, experiences, and they just don't have the bandwidth because they're worrying about making product. So that support is trying to be there, but that's why they sponsor events and do events and partner with chefs. But I do think there could definitely be some stuff improved. But it's just a very disjointed industry in the sense where you have the manufacturer, the sales, the designer, the builder, and then the consumer. So there's 6 people involved in a process. So who's going to make the content?
Yeah.
Because everybody has these different perspectives. And if the manufacturer makes it, it's just going to be like, okay, well, here's your features. Features don't sell appliances. Stories sell appliances. So when we do events, we try to say, take a story from this rather than a feature. So
that's really good. No, I mean, what was the name of your podcast again?
It's called Home Appliances Explained. Real straightforward.
Yeah, that's very good.
Really easy.
Yeah, so everybody can check that out. We're going to be on the lookout for your podcast.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I don't know, I would love to come to your podcast too.
Yeah,
as a builder.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Fun. So good luck to you on that. I'm sure it's going to do awesome. Because like you said, and I know I've never seen it out there.
Yeah.
Somebody that's out there explaining all the information that people need to use their appliances.
And we're going to be like at showrooms. Like I'm going to Chicago Monogram corporate showroom in Chicago. So we're going to film one there. So I actually have a full cell phone setup, mobile cell phone setup. So that's how we'll be doing our podcast, is mobily with the cell phones. On site and stuff like that. So, we might be at a factory. We might be at, a showroom or a builder's house, or talking about a kitchen and why the kitchen's designed of how it is. So things like that.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Like I said, good luck to you.
Yes.
And I can't wait to check it out too.
Cool.
Yeah. And thank you so much for coming in, talking to us about your experience, all the opinions that you have about appliances. I appreciate it so much for joining me.
Yeah, of course.
And hopefully
thanks for having me.
Yeah, we can do it again, hopefully.
Yeah. There'll be there's tons to talk about.
I know.
Clearly, I was talking.
I'm sure there's lots of topics we can pick and choose, and maybe make it a series. So that would be great.
Yes.
So that's all for this episode. Thank you for joining. Again, thank you, Robbie. And until next time, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.